Hello, everybody. It is Monday, the 2nd of November, 2015. This is Peter Bowman, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host Eric Carlson. How are you doing tonight, Eric?
I'm doing all right.
Most excellent. So this week, we've got a topic we want to talk about, but before we talk about that, a bit of news came up today on Star Trek. There's going to be a new show
Hooray!
sometime next year, apparently.
This makes me cautiously optimistic. Just don't put it in the Abrams verse. Please don't put it in the Abrams verse.
Please say that Berman and Braga have nothing to do with it also.
Yeah, also that.
That's like 3 bullets we have to dodge, Eric.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not that optimistic. I am less optimistic than I was about Star Wars before things started coming out. Star Wars 7 before things started coming out about it, and I was bleak on that.
You were outright pessimistic. Yeah.
I'm still not optimistic about Star Wars, the new Star Wars movie. I refuse to be. I don't trust Abrams.
Either do I. But everything I've heard about Star Wars is promising. Not quite enough to outweigh Abrams, but I don't know. I'll probably see it in the theater. Definitely not opening night.
Okay, someone in our chat just said something. Is that confirmed, Duwani? Duwani saying it is in the Abrams verse, and it's written by one of the main writers of the last two movies, but not Orky at least, or Orchie, or however his name is pronounced.
Thank God it's not Orky. That guy is a fucking loon that doesn't understand how to pace a fucking story. And how dare he sully the term Orky with his vile name.
I forgot her name, right? But yeah, here's the thing. Eric and I both adore Star Trek. We're both huge Star Trek fans.
Yeah, we both love Star Trek. We won't ever agree on what we love about Star Trek, but we love Star Trek.
There are things we agree about in Star Trek, Eric.
Yes.
There's a lot we agree about, actually.
I think the Federation would be awesome to live in, but I'm much more interested in stories about every other major power.
I can see that. I can totally understand that. I think there are a lot of good stories. The thing is, it depends what type of story you want to tell.
Yes.
And they're honestly, the Federation is fantastic. You're telling stories of exploration.
Yes, and that's totally cool. And that is really cool. That's how we got started. That's how.
That's the stuff I loved in the original series and Next Gen.
Yep. And some of the best stuff came out of that.
Yeah.
What is it? The one with the alien probe that zaps Picard's brain, and he lives an entire lifetime.
Oh my God, that episode is fantastic.
That's such a good episode.
Oh, and the episode where Q forces them, drops them into the was it the Gamma Quadrant?
I think it was the Delta Quadrant.
Delta Quadrant,
because the Gamma Quadrant's got the Dominion.
Right. So yes. So to force them to interact with the Borg, it's like to show them the Borg. It's like Q who, and the episode we were both talking. The other episode is the Inner Light. Thank you, Tachi, in the chat.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm terrible at
I knew
remembering
it was
episode
something
names.
light, but I wanted to say Last Light or something, and that's not correct.
I'm terrible at remembering episode names, so...
Yeah.
Excuse me, by the way.
And one of the things I liked about those two shows, they built up the Federation as this great and grand utopia. It's great for 99% of the people out there. And then DS9 showed you, how it runs and how it sucks with the other 1%. And
yeah.
I love all three of those shows for that.
Oh yeah, I love all three of the shows. As I said, the thing is, for Eric, DS9 is his favorite. For me, it's my least favorite of the three. And that's not saying I dislike it, because I love it. It is just behind Next Gen and the original series.
It's really a matter of degrees as opposed to... It's a matter of inches.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
And then you have Voyager, which is watchable but not good. And then you have Enterprise, which is neither of those things.
I struggle to find Voyager watchable, even, to be totally honest.
Be amazed what a couple glasses of bourbon will do.
You see, being drunk wouldn't help that. I would just be... I would be more irritable, I think.
To be fair, Voyager has some good episodes. It's just...
Technically speaking,
clearly what happened was that when Next Gen ended, all the bad writers went to Voyager and all the good writers went to DS9.
Except, Voyager didn't come out immediately.
Yeah.
I remember when Voyager came out. I remember being all excited because there's another new Star Trek show.
Yeah, it's another new Star Trek series.
And I watched the pilot and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, some of this cast is really not good.
Yeah.
Like Babylon 5 pilot, not good.
Chakotay was an interesting idea for a character, but they never developed him.
Yeah.
And Tom Paris was a goddamn Mary Sue to end all Mary Sues.
But on top of that being, like, the most uninteresting character to begin, like, he's like the most boring Mary Sue ever.
Yeah.
Marty Stu, or whatever you want to call a male version of it.
He's clearly intended to be the charming rogue, but comes off as like a really bland and boring frat guy. He's not even enough to be a dick. He's just
he's a badly written, uninteresting character, but he's not the worst written character on that show.
No.
Like, especially early on, like, God, Neelix early on is just...
Oh, Jesus Christ, what a... Oh, jeez, why couldn't we have kept Kes and gotten rid of Neelix?
Because Kes was also pretty awful.
Yeah. But she was cute.
Yeah, but that didn't save the character.
No.
Kate Mulgrew's a great actress, but Janeway's an awful character.
Yeah. Janeway is just...
Oh my God. She wasn't as bad early on, but she got worse and worse as the show went on.
And the tendency of her to make clearly wrong decisions, but always to be proved right in the end. Like with the information on hand, it was always the wrong decision, but only to be proved right due to divine intervention by the writers because they couldn't have her make a mistake.
There are a few counterexamples to that. The whole thing with they run into the Borg and have to go across Borg space. She actually makes the right decisions there.
Yes, and that's a good episode.
The first part of that two-parter was really good, and the second half came out, and I was like, oh, well, never mind.
Oh, fuck you! You're bringing back the Queen. Fuck you.
That's not even the worst part of that episode, although it was pretty fucking bad. That episode was just terrible. Ugh.
I don't know if I've made this clear to the chat yet, but I fucking hate the idea of a Borg queen. The Borg don't need a queen.
You and me both, Eric. We both think it's a terrible idea. I know why they did it.
To get that fetish zombie market.
Well, they wanted to have a face They wanted to have a face of evil for First Contact. The face of the antagonist.
And I kind of get that, but the problem with that is what makes the Borg effective is that they are faceless.
The problem is they done that trick before,
and it failed miserably.
Well, it's not even just that they did that, but from a writing standpoint,
yes, they did it with Locutus.
And that was a brilliant idea, and it worked brilliantly.
Yes, particularly because they took this character that we all loved and looked up to, and corrupted and changed him into a monster. And Best of Both Worlds is one of the best episodes of Star Trek, counting the whole two-parter.
And oh my God, Picard knocked that out of the fucking park.
Yeah, they
Patrick
did.
Stewart was amazing. Oh God. I mean, as much as there are things I mock at Best of Both Worlds. Evasion, Riker evasion, alpha evasion, pattern alpha. Drift to the left, drift to the right. This is how.
To be fair, it's a galaxy. It's got a base turn rate of 5.
Star Trek ships are not normally maneuverable, especially Fed ships. So yeah, I get it. But yeah, it's still funny seeing it. Like Picard maneuver, that's a clever maneuver.
Yeah, that is clever. And to be fair, Riker 1 is great when you're flying in a Borel or any Klingon ship because they can steer.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is what he's doing.
Or the Defiant.
But again, he's not turning. He's literally
it's just sort of
drifting off to the side, which is something that I guess it makes sense. Logically, it's like, okay, I can see why this would why a Star Trek ship should be able to do this.
Yeah. Doesn't make it good.
It makes it silly. The problem is it's so silly looking.
Yeah.
But yeah, but anyways.
But Best of Both Worlds give us one of the best Star Trek soundtracks.
Oh, it's as I said,
Amazing character work, great plotting, made the Borg utterly terrifying to the point where they could only go downhill.
Pretty much.
Although, I gotta tell you, as soon as you showed up, that was the end of them. You could never take those guys seriously again.
Oh, God.
Like, for all the shit Voyager gets for killing the Borg, TNG did it first with Hugh.
Oh, even Hugh wasn't even the biggest problem.
He was a wounded puppy cyborg death machine.
I know. But he wasn't the biggest problem. That wasn't that episode that was the problem. The biggest problem. Iborg was a bad episode, but it was not the final nail. It wasn't the real nail in the coffin. It was when they brought them back the next time with Lore.
Oh, right. Yeah. You know, I had just sort of banished that episode from my mind.
It was a two-parter, too, Eric.
I know.
Started out well. Oh, my God, that episode. That episode was doubly insulting because it ruined two things.
Yeah, it ruined both Lore and the Borg.
It's like, oh my God, why?
Why would you do that?
But that's not why we're here. What our main topic for Star Trek's not our main topic. We could ramble on about Star Trek. We've done this so many times.
Christ, we can, yeah.
We love Star Trek to death, and we will talk about 5 to 1. We'll talk about Star Trek during the show, even when we're not covering it.
Yeah,
but we did get a suggestion from who was it? I'm blanking. I'm terrible. I'm the worst. I had who suggested the show topic, and I got to get it back up. I think it was. Yes. It was Tachi. Thank you, Tachi. Tachi suggested start talking about war story campaigns or moments from games you remember fondly, and horror stories. Same thing, but for moments you weren't as fond
the
of.
Opposite. Yeah.
And,
moments are bad.
Yeah. And we've talked a little bit about both of these before. I think we have done we've talked about a lot of moments which we've talked about both over time, but I think we may have dedicated shows to that. But you know what? It's a good topic to mine. We've got lots of them.
And I don't think we've actually dedicated a show to it. It's sort of one of those things that comes up over and over again.
Yeah, we've done shows like our favorite moments in gaming a few times, but those aren't necessarily like the best. They're just our favorites, which often are the best, really. But but it's not just that. It's like I think I think part of what we should sort of discuss. I think maybe not so much our favorites, but like moments that are part of it. It'll be our. Obviously some of this will be our favorites, but
right,
things that are like sort of crowning glory moments, badass moments, things that are just amazing.
Yes.
And I don't want to stay tied to any particular genre when we're talking about like tabletop in general. I think we want to focus on,
yeah, tabletop in general.
But but not just RPGs or war games or what have you. But
Okay, fair enough.
So, but we're going to touch on both as we go, and I'm fairly certain that Star Trek will come up in some mind at least. But because I did play Starfleet Battles a fair bit.
Right.
So, Eric, why
Star Trek is awesome.
Why don't you kick things off?
Okay, so I think one of my crowning moments of glory, I think, was probably doing a War Machine tournament. This is back in Mark 1, and it was a dual. No, even better. We were back when I was playing 40K back in 3rd edition.
Okay.
Bunch of people at the local game store was getting ready to go to Games Day and the big tournament there and all that stuff. Back when GW still did tournaments.
Right.
And one of the players, our friend Tor, had put together this Eldar force. It was all jet bikes. It was a newly published in White Dwarf themed force for all intents and purposes.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I'll fight that with my speed freaks. Because if nothing else, will be entertaining watching everything zip all over the table and everyone blow each other up.
Right.
And the scenario ended up being Meat Grinder with Tor defending and me attacking. Now, the rules of Meat Grinder at the time meant if a unit was completely wiped out, you could bring them back on, but only on foot. You couldn't bring any vehicles or transports.
Okay.
My entire army was mounted.
Right.
So it was like, basically I had to wipe Tor out without losing anything. And all he had to do was hold out for, I think, 6 turns.
Okay.
Tor didn't get one casualty. Tor didn't get to roll to wound that game.
Oh dear.
Part of this is bad dice on his part. Part of it was him learning an army he had never tried out before. And part of it was I had just recently gotten really good at perfecting Speed Freak tactics.
Aha.
So, we set up. I instantly zip over for the denied flank, which confused him, and then proceeded to chew up chunks of his army as he races to... And his army is not slow at all. It's all jet bikes. It's actually ridiculously fast. But it's his first time doing anything that fast with an army, so he's having trouble coordinating everything and reacting. And, I don't remember him ever rolling to wound.
Oh, my God.
It was a slaughter. And I felt bad afterwards, but it was definitely a moment of, yeah, I feel cool. To be fair, one of my most frustrating games was a game where I didn't get to roll to wound because I couldn't roll to hit. So...
Oh, wow. That's,
To be fair, Tor then, the next month got, bumps or chicken pox or something, couldn't show up, so all he did was read rule books and look up strategies online, and came back a fucking god. So...
I remember that when he came back and he completely crushed Jay in War Machine.
Yes, it was just...
And Jay was completely flummoxed.
Yeah, he just came back, he went into the desert and trained.
So Tor came back with his men off list, and Jay was playing his Darius list for Signar.
Which had given all of us fits.
And Tor just monkey stomped him.
It was just... he just obliterated him. And we're all like, what did you just do, Tor? Holy shit, I want a piece of this. Oh my god, what's left of my army?
I remember Jay postulating that penicillin is apparently a performance-enhancing drug for wargaming.
No shit.
Because Tor just was... he was... And it really was. He had nothing else to do but, stay in bed and read and such. And so he did what I used to do, which is, obsessively read rule books.
Yeah.
Which I don't do as much anymore because I'm just far too lazy now. But it was a habit I got into from playing Starfleet Battles, the Star Trek's space combat game, sort of grid and counter and hexgraph, typical game that I like,
Right.
But super detailed and very simulationist.
Right, which is totally your bag and not really mine.
Right. Starfleet Battles is a brilliantly designed game for what it does, but it might even be a little bit too simulationist and gamist for me.
Yeah.
I still like the game, but oh my god, it's complicated.
And I almost never say this, but I would love to play a stripped-down version of it.
Yeah, actually, there's some... honestly, it's a game that I think would be immensely improved by a well-done computer game version of it, where so that the computer could take care of the actual mathematical bookkeeping for you.
Yes, I think MechWarrior is another one that would hugely benefit from that.
Yeah, BattleTech, yeah.
That's what I meant.
Both those would BattleTech between both those it would speed things up is the big thing.
Yeah, and that's my biggest problem with both those games is
they're slow. They're very slow.
They're very, very slow, and there's a huge amount of bookkeeping involved. And I'm like, dude, all I want to do is I want to blow up spaceships or giant robots, and right. I don't want to. Yeah,
I totally get that. I believe.
And I want to worry about maneuvering my forces into position, and then firing on the enemy, and making sacrificial plays and looking out for similar things from my opponent. I don't want to take up brain space with recording how much ammo I have, what my power levels are, or that kind of shit.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's the whole allocating power thing in Starfleet Battles is...
It's hugely important.
It's the game.
Yeah.
And it's 60 to 70% of the game. Knowing when to power what, when to the math of doing mid-turn speed changes is the most crucial thing in the game.
Yeah.
Because you need to be able to you have to be able to make use of your power efficiently, otherwise you're just going to lose to someone who's better at it. And that's fine. That's great. But it's not for everybody.
It's not something I'm interested in, but I'm really glad it exists.
Exactly. But the thing about Starfleet Battles is And the reason I got in the habit of reading rule books like in detail, in depth, is because I can count. I cannot count on my. I can't count. I don't think I can count as high how many games of Starfleet Battles I lost because my opponent understood the rules better than I did.
Yeah, War Machine is similar in that.
It
the rules are a lot more simple and fluid, but interactions between rules and units is really important.
Oh yeah, that's the big thing. It's the for Starfleet Battles, it's the interactions that kill you.
Yeah,
like literally, it's like I'm sitting like the number of times I would be doing something and my opponent, often my friend Sam, one of my best friends from high school, and Sam was really good at Starfleet Battles. The game was it was even more in his wheelhouse than it's in mine by a noticeable margin. And Sam was significantly better at Starfleet Battles than I was. The really interesting thing about the group of people I play Starfleet Battles with, the really interesting thing was I was probably the second best player in the group.
Mm.
The thing was, I was also the only person in the group who could not beat Sam. I never beat him, ever. And I kept playing him. This tells you how much, A, I enjoyed gaming with Sam, and B, how much I liked the game.
Yeah.
I didn't mind losing to him, because it was like, okay. Well,
that's the thing. I don't mind losing at a game as long as it's fun. As long as I can learn something from the experience, and it doesn't feel like someone got raffle stomped.
Right. Well, that's the thing.
But like, as much as I was talking about like raffle stomping Tord, pretty much just made me feel like a big man when I was feeling really down, honestly. but there's I never, unless I'm really down, I really just don't enjoy raffle stomp from either side. It's not fun.
Yeah, the thing with Starfleet Battles is like I do want to talk about SFB for a little bit though, because some of my moments come from this, but like the thing was like the number of times I lost a game to Sam was because I I do this, and Sam would like say, okay, I'm doing this, and then I would see about like right after he started doing it, going, oh, that's what he was doing. Oh, I'm so screwed.
Yes,
because he saw the rules interaction a turn before I did, basically, or a move or two before I did. And it's like, oh, and also like the number of times because I didn't know the rules as well as he did. Like the number of times I would occasionally reference the rule book to look something up during a game and Sam one thing Sam had was when I referenced the rule book, he would look at what the situation was. He'd go, okay, what could Peter be looking up here?
Mm.
And he would think about this, okay, it's likely one of these three things. I'll just take those into account. And so these traps I would be setting up wouldn't work because Sam knew what I was doing, knew what it had to be. And it's like,
right.
But the thing about it was the reason I kept playing and doing that is I learned something for every game I played with Sam and I got better.
Yes, I mean that's the thing. I almost like losing better than I like winning at war games because as long as it's a relatively close match and I can see what I did wrong.
Right. Oh yeah. I hate losing when I don't know why I lost. It's the worst.
Yeah. Or if it's just plain poor dice.
Yeah, that's
and that's less of a thing in the war games I play now than it used to be. Looking at you Games Workshop.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I love Starfleet Battles is while it does have a random element. Wow, it's not that random.
Yeah,
it's like there's one rule that they do not allow in tournaments because it's too much of a random element. It's too swingy.
Right.
It's narrow salvoing the photon torpedoes. You're allowed to, quote, narrow salvo photon torpedoes, which means you roll one die for all the torpedoes you launch at once.
Oh, okay.
So they either all hit or they all miss.
All miss, right.
And that is just it's just too big a swing. There's no, we don't know.
No, I totally get why they would ban that, because it's a crap shot. You either just blow the fuck out of the dude, or you blow your load.
Right. And it's just like, wow. Like, a full salvo of fully overloaded photon torpedoes at range 8, which is, the max range you can fire an overloaded weapon from. The thing is, like, a lot of overloaded weapons lose damage with range. You do more damage the closer you get. Photons don't really. They have fixed damage.
They're torpedoes.
They have, but a lot of them are torpedoes. Like just, like they're all technically they're a bunch of different torpedoes and such. But plasma torpedoes, for instance, are very different. They don't, they're a seeking weapon that loses damage as they travel, which is which is not surprising if you've seen, like, that's how they work in all of Star Trek, because that's how it worked in the first episode they introduced the plasma torpedo.
Right.
The Romulans. But, at any rate, so, like, the Klingon disruptors, which are their, quote, torpedo weapons, they're heavy weapons, they lose damage with range, but they're very accurate. Everybody uses phasers because that's what they did in the original series. But yeah, so
no, the Klingons use disruptors.
They used it. The disruptors were their heavy weapons.
That's right. Yeah, because whenever they fired a beam, it was a phaser. Whenever they fired the cannons, it was a disruptor, and they had torpedoes. That's right.
Yeah, the Klingon ships don't have photons in Starfleet battles, but I think there might be one or two like Klingon ship variants that might. I forget. It's been a long time since I've looked at it. But Klingon ships basically. So at any rate, there are a couple of like truly wonderful little moments I've had in Starfleet battles. One of my personal favorites and one of my favorite moments was a bunch of us decided to get together to do a series of most Starfleet battles games are one ship on one ship because fleet battles take for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Because you got to track power for each individual ship. And it slows things down a lot. There's a lot of interesting stuff that you can do with that, but it's not like ship on ship duels, lots of fun. And I remember one weekend we decided to do like the traditional one-on-one ship duel is heavy cruiser battles or light cruiser battles, one or the other. We decided to do heavy battle cruiser battles one weekend, and so we basically said okay, and you do that by you're allowed to basically you get X amount of points and you're allowed to spend that many points on one ship and a few minor, and if you've got points left over on like a couple of like special things like special drones or which are the missiles that some ships have. The Kzinti are very big into. The Kzinti are in Starfleet battles because they were in one episode of the original.
Right, they were in one episode of the animated series. So that Barry Niven wrote.
Yep, and they got folded into the license for Starfleet battles. Well, they were technically not the Kzinti; they were the Kazin. Totally different.
Totally different.
Totally the same.
Kind of like how the Ferocity in Star Trek Online are totally not the Kazin.
Yeah. But at any rate, there was actually another feline race in Starfleet battles called the Lyrans, who were long enemies of the Kazin. Both of them hate each other, and the Lyrans basically developed a device to help stop. It's. I'm not going to go into full details, but anyways. But so we were looking. I was looking at various heavy battle cruisers, and we had X amount of points. I forget the exact number. And I was flipping through, and I said, "Wait a minute. Technically speaking, the Tholian P variant of their dreadnought is in the exact same point value as all the heavy battle cruisers. Because we're doing it based on point value. I'm like, I could fly the photon mounted variant of the Tholian dreadnought. Started comparing it to the other ships. I'm like, wait a minute. It's a dreadnought, so it's got like dreadnought. It's slightly bigger and tougher than most of the other ships. It's got I've looked something. I've got to fly this thing because so I flew the Tholian Phaser dreadnought, photon dreadnought, and I discovered how much I adore that ship. And so I remember playing I was playing against my friend Channing, who was flying the Klingon heavy battlecruiser, which is a amazing ship. And it's like okay, so I believe I took the I had enough points to take one of the. You're about one of the options you can buy for our legendary officers who give you minor bonuses. I had enough for the legendary navigator, which reduces your turn mode because ships had turn modes. You had to depending on how good your turn mode was, determine how many hexes you had to move before you could turn again, depending on your speed.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I can drop my turn mode down, and I realized as I was like, so I took that and. So the Klingons, one of their big pride and joy is their ships are more maneuverable than basically everybody else's.
Right, because Klingons are awesome.
The Tholian Dreadnought, P Dreadnought, was one turn mode worse than the Klingon heavy battlecruiser. Naturally,
really?
Yes.
Wow.
And with the legendary navigator,
fucking Dreadnought.
Yeah. I mean the Klingon heavy battlecruiser. Basically, the turn modes are rated in letters from A, the most maneuverable, up to E, least. And the Klingon BCH was a turn mode C ship, which meant it was actually more maneuverable than the Fed heavy cruisers, which are turn mode D. A lot of cruisers are like C or D. The Klingon baseline cruisers, I think, might even be a B. Yeah, it is. The Klingon BCH is one turn mode worse than their normal cruisers. And so my dreadnought is maneuvering, keeping up with him in maneuvering, and he's like, "How is this reasonable?" I'm like, "Well, if I do a high energy turn, basically there's a rule you can do what's called a high energy turn. You pay extra power, and you can basically do it like 180 in one turn."
Okay.
And the first time you get a bonus to your roll, because when you make one, you have to make a roll to not break down, because it's a terrible idea to do this.
Right, it's a crazy Ivan.
You're throwing one warp engine into forward, one into reverse, basically, which is a terrible idea. The first time you can do it safely, and after that you have to you basically have to make a roll. And for most ships, their breakdown rating is they fail on a 5 or a 6, and you get +2 to the roll.
Right.
The Tholian Dreadnought, because the way it's made is it takes a bunch of the Tholian patrol ships. They built a bunch of the hulls by taking the one ship they brought with them from their home galaxy and started basically putting them together to make bigger ships, like welding them together effectively. Or we joked, Tholian super glue is amazing stuff. The Tholian Dreadnought is 3 of their patrol corvettes glued together. It does not handle it, so its breakdown rating is apocalyptically bad.
Right.
I forget how bad it is. So I really couldn't have. I could, if I was willing to take a risk, I could take the first hit and have a good chance of not failing. But anything after that, I was fucked. I couldn't even consider it. So that's my biggest drawback. But like, I realized that I was just like I'm tougher than basically almost everybody. The people I'm not tough for them, I'm more maneuverable. But against Channing's Klingon, I was not only tougher, I was as maneuverable, and I badly outgunned him.
Right. Oh.
Channing was there going, "What the?" But but it was that moment of realization that I think I found a niche for this for what I wanted to do, like being able to and there's some ships my friend Peter was playing the Hydron heavy battle cruiser, which is a beast. Oh my god. And the problem with the thing with that ship is it had decent long range firepower, but if it got close, it just killed you.
Right.
So I basically had to keep the range open. I basically had to not get within 4 hexes of him, otherwise he'd just savage me. But it was a good weekend. I went undefeated. I was on point. Unfortunately, right. Sam wasn't there, so I didn't get a chance to actually. I'm almost positive Sam would have came up with the same conclusion I did and played the exact same ship. Yeah. But it was a good long weekend. It was the best game I had, I think, was actually against Peter Shaw, my friend Peter Shaw, and we sort of went back, and it was sort of a back and forth, me desperately me sort of working to keep the range at the exact range bracket I wanted it at, which is 5 to 8.
Right.
And he wanted to get within 4. Ideally, he wanted to get to 2. If he could get to 2, he would just kill me. Because all of a sudden, all his short-range fusion beams would just rip me to shreds. I was like, no, keep away. Keep away. I'm more maneuverable than you are, so...
Leave me alone.
My other big advantage, I had this just egregiously large bank of phasers. So, almost everybody else had slightly... Everyone except for the Klingon had better heavy weapons than I did. More.
Right.
The Klingon had correction. The Klingon had... everyone had basically the same number of heavy weapons. Mine was a mix of photons and disruptors. The Klingon had 6 disruptors. Everyone else had harder hitting ones than I did. Either they had all photons, or they had other stuff. But yeah, I managed to barely pull out that win. Peter's game against Channing was amazing. He ended up with a tube of shielding because Channing managed to remove both his forward and aft shields, but didn't actually kill him, and his side shields were intact. So it was this flying tube.
Yay!
Peter won, so because he got close, and the fusion beams ripped Channing's Klingon heavy battlecruiser to shreds. Because it's a tough Klingon ship.
Right.
Klingons don't do tough. But honestly, my best moments from Starfleet battles were almost always me teaching someone how to play. and like seeing them start like getting it, and I was actually pretty good at that. I'm less good at teaching that games now than I used to be. I'm less patient. Tachi Jazz wanted to ask: is Starly Battles a war game or a card game? It is a war game. It's a miniatures comp. It's a hex grid. So yeah,
it's hexes and counters.
It's hexes and counters.
So it doesn't really use miniatures, which is another reason why I never really got into it.
They made miniatures for it, but they weren't really that good.
Good. I remember seeing them and going, "These aren't good."
I mean, they're not bad, but it just didn't work very well because you needed to stack counters in a lot of situations because ships could occupy the same hex. So,
also they didn't have the Burrell, which is the best ship ever.
They did. Well, they did. They did have birds of prey. They were the smaller ships. Like I mean, they didn't call them that because they didn't have the rights to call them that stuff.
Right.
What they had the rights to, they effectively had it like the E5. It's like an E5 escort, I think, is effectively a Burrell.
Right.
Like their small ships were. But so I've been talking.
Yeah, but they didn't have the Burrell miniature.
Oh, well, God no. But they have the D7, which is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, the D7's pretty sweet. Also called the Katinga, because I'm a nerd.
They're both great names for it.
Yes.
So Eric, some more stuff from you because I've been talking.
Okay, yeah, you've been going for a while.
I got caught onto my love of talking about Starfleet battles. I apologize.
Probably one of my worst moments was again Warhammer 40k. It actually made me quit Warhammer 40k for a very long time.
Right.
It was towards the tail end of 3rd edition. When the Codex creep was in full effect and orcs were left way, way behind. Right. Kind of like as I understand it now. But I was playing against a Khorne Berserker army. And the guy wasn't smart. He was also crass and really wanted you to like him, but wasn't very good at trying to get you to do so. So... yeah, he was one of those guys, is what I'm saying. But, I played against him, I wanted to encourage him to come and play more and whatnot, and he had a Khorne Berserker army. And at the time, Khorne Berserkers are basically the wind-up-and-go army. There's very little strategically you could do with them, because there's a chance they just go running, chasing off after something. So I decided to abuse this by having them go running, chasing my buggies around while they swung their pistol-mounted machine guns around, fired into their faces. And then I dropped my army on top of his command squad, because of course I would. A war boss, full unit of knobs, and a bunch of Scarboys on top of one lone unit of Khorne Berserkers, yeah, they'll eat it alive, even if the Chaos Lord is in there. Yeah, I couldn't actually kill anything.
Oh.
And then the Bloodthirster exploded. And by exploded, I mean exploded out of the Aspiring Champion's chest and promptly ate my War Boss. Despite the fact that War Boss probably should have been being able to eat 2 turns of attacks from it. By the way, I kitted him out. And then the Berserkers somehow caught my buggies and destroyed them. And I was left with 1 unit of truck boys sort of sitting there going, aha. I was like, you know what? I completely outplayed this guy. I did everything right. But his army's broken, and the dice were not with me. I am done with this game.
Yeah.
So, it was incredibly frustrating. And it wasn't his fault at all. Like, seriously, it was not the guy's fault at all. It was a case of Games Workshop being in a terrible design space again.
Yeah.
and being frustrated that my chosen army was left behind again. So much.
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually talked about my truly bitter moments with 40k. They were mostly the big ones were 2nd edition.
Right.
I've discussed the tournament of I was playing Imperial Guard and ran into my first 2 opponents were Space Wolves and Harlequins. Yeah, that was
oh, what a mess. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. But yeah, I want to sort of get off the war game stuff for a bit, though.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention one of my crowning moments from RPGs.
Go for it. Absolutely, go for it.
It was actually the Slayers game on the stream.
Right. Oh, I know what you're going to talk about.
Because it was, for those that haven't seen it, I'm playing, it's set in the Slayers universe, the old anime from the 90s. And I'm playing a half-troll champion of justice, which basically meant I had ridiculously high strength, was a punchy paladin, basically, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, it was a paladin who punches things.
Yeah.
He's a paladin who's a pro wrestler, actually.
Yes, I actually played him very much like a... The idea behind the character was a pro wrestler heel trying to be a good guy out in the real world. I'm not sure how well I pulled it off, but he was a lot of fun to play.
Right.
And we needed to acquire these 3 MacGuffins, one of which was a sword. And so we go out in the middle of the desert to this temple. We have a guide get us there, along with our trusty and surly camel. We go down in there into the temple. We figure out the puzzle and get the sword. We come back out. Turns out our guide is a Mazaku, which is, for all intents and purposes, a lesser demon god.
Yeah.
And promptly just sort of bitch slaps us around with her completely overwhelming power and says, "Now, give me the sword." To which I respond, "No, I'm not giving a creature of evil and deceit and lies this super magic sword. Fuck you. Give me the sword. I'm going to punch her." "Are you kidding me?" "No, I am punching her." "You have 1 hit point." "I don't care. I am punching her." "Okay, you rolled a hit." I hit, but she soaks it with her damage resistance. So she catches my fist and does the whole crunchy thing. At which point I shout into the microphone, "I have 2 fists," and swing again. And I crit and max the damage, which basically gave her a bloody nose. That's it.
It hurt, but not a lot.
But it was just sort of that moment of, yes, and now I die in glory. Except the camel saved me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just sort of that could not have been more cinematic or awesome if I tried.
It was a good moment. It really was.
Yes, everything came together at the right moment, and that perfect sort of the dice were with the narrative that time.
Yeah, they were. They really were. Even down from your opening attack, basically being shrugged off. It was all perfect.
Yeah, it all came together exactly right. It felt right. It felt like something right out of a movie or an episode of the series or something. Yeah, and then of course, the comedic moment with the surly camel comes in and body checks the demon god into the pillars, so we can all get out.
Yeah. Someone suggested, I thought, you know what, that's brilliant, I'm going with it. I have to say, one of my crowning glory moments from tabletop role-playing was as a game master, actually. And it was a great example of, it was one of my favorite moments because it was a moment where I actually let go of the reins to perfect effect. This is from the Shadowland campaign, and the party had run into this one of the story arc antagonist and his. So they had the Lord of Evil and his dragon, who was a succubus.
Right.
The greater succubus, actually.
A dragon and a succubus, you say?
Well, she's not actually. No. I'm talking about the sort of role of his organization. She was his right hand man. She was. If you go to TV tropes and look what the dragon is.
Oh! I see what you mean. Like Joseph Campbell dragon. Gotcha.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I understand.
Yes, she wasn't actually. She was sort of that sort of combination.
She was Darth Vader to his Palpatine.
Kind of, except that she was also kind of the Grand Vizier. She was sort of like the vizier behind the throne too, to a certain degree. But
okay.
So I decided at some point, that she was going to keep fucking with the party for various reasons because, duh. She's a succubus. I mean, of course she's going to. And so I actually, I decided that I wanted to screw the party. I actually had a moment in the game where I asked Chris Larios, Rolo-T, was one of the players of the group, and he was playing, his character was female. And so I asked him off stream if he would be willing to, in a scene that had come up, interacting with his character to basically play the succubus mimicking his character, trying to basically...
Oh, that's great.
To basically, and trying to basically, sort of seduce one of the other players in the party and try to get them to betray such and do all this stuff. And so I basically asked him to do that, and I came with a moment in game for it to happen, and just let him handle it, and didn't tell anybody else, and let him roleplay it. And it was one of the best moments I've ever had in any RPG I've ever run. And
That's just great.
And it meant that I had to literally just hand the reins over to Chris and let him go. And he did it perfectly. And it took a while for everyone to figure out that it wasn't Kana, Chris's character. They're saying, wait a minute, what's going on? And but the thing is, in character, his character didn't notice it at first until basically the moment after he basically has her reveal it and actually has the succubus kiss him. Which, of course, succubus kisses are, have, game effects.
They're all sorts of bad, right.
And
with his succubus, no kissing. Everything else is cool, but no kissing.
Actually, nothing else is cool. In theory, nothing else is, is not a good idea.
Right.
Basically, 4th edition succubuses have the ability where if they can, as an action, they can, quote, if they're village, can kiss an enemy, and that enemy can no longer voluntarily attack the succubus unless she attacks them back.
Right.
And she can use an action to make them take a hit for her, if I remember correctly. Something along those lines. I don't remember exactly. I don't remember the details.
Sucker. Wink.
Kind of, but and that had happened during the battle. The thing that didn't happen. She missed on that during the battle, if I remember correctly. But I had decided a while ago that she was not a normal succubus. She was a quote greater succubus. That her kiss, normally the kiss lasts the encounter. It wears off. Hers didn't.
Ah.
So it meant that Scott's character, who was the thief in the party, he was the highest damage character in the party. He was their best melee striker. Chris' character was the other striker, and they both hit hard. But Scott was if Scott's character Zealous could get a sneak attack off, he did crazy damage, especially if he was charging, because the essential thief was a stupid build. It was effective.
Oh, right. I remember you telling me about this guy.
Yes.
The drow with a rapier who exploded dragons by charging them from behind.
Well, not from behind, anywhere. Because they had a way to generate combat advantage as long as they were the only one adjacent to the enemy, basically.
Right.
It's just what? So he was the drow yo-yo. But it meant that he couldn't actually affect Zelia, the succubus, anymore. And that's not just from a mechanical standpoint, just from a psychological character standpoint. Knowing that, knowing that he'd been fooled by her. B, knowing that because his character and Chris's character were falling for each other during this whole thing, and realizing that she'd used that to manipulate him, and
which poisons the relationship.
It didn't actually that much.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Because he's it weirdly brought them closer together, actually, which is kind of cool.
That's actually really cool.
Their relationship was really their characters' relationships. The interesting thing is that Group of Five, there were two separate relationships that happened actually, and it worked. They both worked really well actually. I've been uploading the old recordings up to YouTube, so people want to check them out. They're worth checking. It's worth checking out if you've got time. It's long because they're D&D sessions and they all were around about 4 hours.
Right.
And there are 25 of them. I haven't gotten them all uploaded yet, but I'm getting there. But yeah, it was really interesting seeing how the two of them handle it, and it's unfortunately I didn't pull off Zelia's further manipulations quite as well, but she kept showing up to screw with Zealous because she decided she decided to claim him as one of her pets.
Because of course she did, because she's a jerk.
Well, yes, and also she had decided there are two reasons. One, because acquisitive. She liked breaking, corrupting heroes and taking them for herself. Also, right. She had decided that it'd be really funny to do that specifically Zealous to break Kana. Because again, evil.
Right.
I never really got to pull off the manipulations quite as well as I wanted to, unfortunately.
Well, it's also not really in your mental wheelhouse.
It's not really. I've since thought of a couple ways I could have handled it better, but I had a couple of moments where it worked out pretty well. But that campaign as a whole was amongst some of my best game mastering, honestly. It sort of fell off a bit towards the end, but
yeah, that happens.
Yeah, but it was definitely an interesting. It's just one of those moments I'm so happy I pulled that off. I also got to pull off the moment where when they ran into Zelia and Lord Jadis the first time. I basically warned them ahead of time. Okay, guys, the people. Some people. There's going to be a fight in this that you can't win. It's going to be a curb stomp battle. I just ask you to trust me that I'm not going to just kill the party outright for no good reason. I'm not going to kill you guys, but you're going to lose this fight. Are you okay with this? And they were.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of the deal with the Slayers thing, but yeah, my character was not going to back down.
Oh,
I was perfectly willing to die there, but you Deus Ex Machina me.
Yeah, I Deus Ex Campbelled you really.
Yeah, but yeah, I was perfectly willing to die in that instance because it was perfectly in character. It would have been an awesome fucking death.
It would have been, but I didn't want to make you have to make a new character at that point.
Right. It also kind of probably would have broken Skitch's character.
There's also the fact that it's a Slayers game, so that kind of comedic save is entirely in genre.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is why I wouldn't have been as comfortable doing that in a different game, but in Slayers, it was perfect.
It really was. That episode really came across like an episode of Slayers.
Honestly. It really did. Well, that's one of the best sessions we had, honestly. That also had the various challenges you had to go through, including the Iron Chef contest with the Iron Golem.
Right.
One of my favorite puns.
Of course, it was the Iron Chef.
It's an Iron Golem chef, Peter. This isn't an Iron Chef. It's an Iron Chef reference. I hate you. Yes. I enjoyed that game far too much. I wish I'd had better plans for long term on the Slayers game, but I realized that I just had nowhere to go with it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the system was wearing on you, and I totally get.
Yeah.
I totally get that the system just not working out for you. I've played in many games where I enjoyed everything but the system, and it eventually poisoned the rmuch of the game for me.
Yeah, that's sort of what's happening with me.
Yeah,
Slayers D20 is the closest to 3rd edition that I'm willing to run. I'm much more willing to play 3rd edition than I'm to run it. I'm actually kind of okay with it as a player.
Well, that's cool.
But as a kind of, the balance issues irk me.
I'm finding more and more as I play other systems, I keep on wanting to come back to bell curves.
Yep, that's the other thing. There's a reason I prefer Hero System and GURPS.
Yeah. I'm playing in a Pathfinder game on Tuesdays right now.
Yep.
And it's D&D 3.75. They've had a lot of the more irksome stuff ironed out of 3.5. And it just keeps on coming back to if there wasn't a D20 instead 3D6, I would have succeeded in this.
The thing I love about the bell curve thing is it normalizes.
It makes it a lot easier it makes it a lot easier to plan, and when you get screwed by dice, it doesn't feel as bad as it could.
Well, it just happens so much. Being screwed by the dice happens so much less often.
Yes.
You fail, but it's not as often, not as so much as it's because it's a
I rolled a 5 when I needed a 6 on a D20, which has happened in entire combat.
Yeah. I mean, it happens.
Why can't I hit? I only need a 6 on a D20.
Oh, I remember just watching us how the dice changed. The dice odds changed between the from when we went from the Iron Kingdoms game to the 4th Ed game where I ran.
Yeah.
And just watching the cavalcade of failure on all sides. It's whereas, with the bell curve thing, it's bizarrely far more predictable. Well, again, it's not bizarrely because if you understand probability, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I can look at it. I can look at numbers and go, okay, I'm especially with a 3d6 curve.
Yes.
Like, I know, like, if someone's, like, in Heroes, if someone's offensive combat value is this, and I know someone's defensive combat value is, I know exactly how, like, I can peg the combat values to a point where things will work out exactly the percentages I want them to. And it's more likely to happen in those ranges, especially if the odds are in the middle of the curve. Whereas with it, because it's a bell curve, the middle results are much more likely. Whereas with the D20 thing, it's a straight line.
Yeah, and that's what's bugging me about Pathfinder right now.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm so used. Part of it is it's not Iron Kingdoms, which is my go-to system now.
Yep.
Not just because I love the world, but the actual system is solid and I enjoy.
Yep. Like all systems got a couple minor flaws, but yeah.
Yeah, everything does. But yeah, and I do kind of want to go back to that hero game at some point.
I intend to go back to that as well.
Yeah, and I'm also really enjoying the Unleashed game, so let's not end that anytime soon. Soon we ever get to play.
Yeah, we should be. We're not gonna be able to do this weekend because I think
everyone is gone except for like you, me, and Word.
Yeah. I was planning on like this weekend. I'm like, oh yeah, this will be. Wait, no. Basically, I was planning on like, I'll be able to run this weekend. Then Skitch told me, no, Nick and I are gonna be out of town this weekend. I'm like, oh.
And then Alice pipes up, it's like, yeah, I'm gone too.
I'm like, oh, well, double O. Well, never mind. All right, I'm okay with this. I can cope. I guess I'll play something else. I don't know. Probably play some Fallout New Vegas or something. Oh God. Anything else you want to chat about? Any other?
We should do some horror stories also.
All right, do you have any that you want to?
I think I've talked about it before, but this horror story is pretty much consists of the entire Rogue Trader game we tried.
Right.
This was a failure on all parties. Everyone deserves an equal amount of blame when it comes to this Rogue Trader game. Basically, our game master wanted to run Rogue Trader, but wanted to start it off really like scuzzy, dirt poor kind of thing, which isn't really on the tin for Rogue Trader.
Right.
Two people really wanted to do Rogue Trader as is written on the tin. They wanted to do like high adventure on the high seas, so to speak. It's in space. It's set in the 40K universe.
Right, but
which I totally understand. That's cool. There was an option to play Space Orcs. I was going to play a fucking Space Orc. There was no way you were going to drag me away from this possibility.
Right.
Fortunately, I also played it to the fucking T, which meant you constantly had to assert dominance over me or I'd hit things. Right. I was basically playing a hyena. and the other person was just like, Akeem was playing a heretic priest with like weird ideas about like equality and love for all peoples and whatnot.
Right.
But at the same time, absolutely like would call. It was very much like a very anti-authoritarian in his character. So he would challenge every order and idea. So you've got the game master who wants to run a very gritty like Firefly kind of game, but he's doing it in Rogue Trader, which is rankling people, and Rogue Trader is not really suited for that.
Right.
You've got the guy playing the actual Rogue Trader who doesn't want to assert his authority because he feels like it's being a jerk. You have me playing a character who absolutely needs to be beaten down regularly.
Right.
And none of us is willing to... We're really willing to change our characters. So it was just this constant degree of strife from all sides. As everyone's like... It ended up like... It was a mess, and we tried to make it work, and some of us ended up like adjusting our characters' personalities to fit it in, but it was too little too late and the game fell apart.
Right.
And yeah, it just was not a good experience. A lot of potential for a good experience. Like, I was kind of hoping to end up playing like Captain Harlock's burly enforcer by way of Jane Cobb.
Right.
But our Captain Harlock didn't want to be Captain Harlock. And yeah, it was I did not get the memo that I needed to tone down the hyena tendencies, despite people actively telling me that, because I'm dense. And the whole high adventure thing ended up with us being more Planet Express ship than the Black Pearl.
Right.
So it was just a lot of people, everyone on different pages of the same rule book, wondering why we aren't following those rules on the page we're looking at. So,
that sounds like it was a giant mess.
It was a giant clusterfuck. It was one of the worst campaigns I was ever been in, and we all deserve credit for it because no one was really listening, and no one really wanted to budge on their positions. There's a lot of pig-headed stubbornness, and not the kind that makes games work.
Right.
And yeah.
Wow.
Did, however, have an excellent shouting match between me and Roach. Totally in character.
Right.
Which scared Matt's son, honestly.
Oops.
It was actually some great intense role-playing, but it ended up with me like standing up, leaning over the table, looming over Roach, shouting in a Cockney accent at him, and Connor running from the room. Connor being Matt's little son. Because he was like 3 or 4 and never seen anyone act angry like that before.
Right. Oh.
Suddenly his big jolly grunkle Eric is shouting at this dude, leaning over him, just like, what is going on?
I don't understand. Why is what?
And we were so into it, no one noticed until Matt's wife Chris comes up to us and goes, "Guys, tone it down. You're scaring Connor."
It's like,
oh shit. Okay, everyone sit down, calm down. Let's relax, reset the session.
Yeah. I think I think the one sort of horror story I can remember off the top of my head, again for me game mastering, was a case of wrong campaign for wrong group.
Yeah, I've been in a couple of those like that.
And it got very frustrating for me because it was the first iteration of the same campaign role I used for Shadowland. You played in it also with the Doomsday Crew. Long story short, it's basically it's a world where the bad guys have already won, and so like the general premise is the good guys are like basically players are recruited by the good guys to go, or in this version being recruited by the good guys to go. The last remaining holdout of people who are like fighting against the Drow who've conquered the rest of the world, to go out and like try to find out what they can do, see if anything can be done to make the world a better place, what have you. So it's going for a somewhat dark and sort of more brooding. So it's a darker campaign world, but it's still got.
To be perfectly honest, I like that campaign world.
It's a good campaign world. I love it. It's probably one of the best ones I've come up with. But the group I was running it with it's the same group. It's members of that group are members of the are still in my Thursday game that I do. But the thing is that particular crew was the way that those particular players interacted with each other and the way they tend to think. That sort of more serious game didn't really click for them. So they came into it a lot more goofy and silly, and they were playing a lot of things for laughs when they really they were role playing things for laughs when I was not expecting it. I was trying to
right
get them to take these requests seriously from the rulers, and I just got increasingly frustrated with it because I just didn't really there was just complete failure on my part really to communicate what was supposed to be going on, and I just got getting more. So it was largely, I said I just didn't think through what the implications of running this game with this group of people was going to be, and I think some of the players were more willing to take it seriously than others, but I was like, it just didn't work. It was just it's one of the few games where we didn't get past we didn't finish the first session.
Ouch!
I gave up. I'm like, guys, are you guys even interested in taking this seriously? I mean, if not, that's fine. I mentioned that, if you're not going to take this seriously, it's fine. We can do a different game, but I need another week to prep.
Right.
Prep something else, because this is not working. And if you guys aren't interested in taking it seriously, that's fine. But And we ended up deciding to do something different. I forget what. But
yeah, I liked that campaign for that you ran in that world for the Tuesday crew.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
I really enjoyed that campaign. It's a shame Leland's so.
Leland hates 4th edition.
He despises it,
and that's fine.
It's a shame because his character is actually really interesting and had some great interactions with my character.
And I thought his character was an interesting character to play, like not just from from a mechanical standpoint, it was interesting, but from like his role playing standpoint, it was I thought it was a really cool character.
Yeah, no, I really I called him Cowbell because my character was a jerk, but Caladel, yes. He
was an Eladrin warlock who
fought with a great spear and yeah.
I mean,
he very much came across as like a she knight, honestly.
No, that was what he was going for, and
yeah, and it worked great.
Yeah, it's the melee warlock build. It's a viable build.
Yeah, and yeah, I really liked Calendil. I thought Calendil was really awesome, and I really liked the interactions between Tarek and Calendil.
Yeah, Calendil was great. Like all the characters of that party were actually really interesting. Yeah. Like there's that. There's
Henna's tiefling warlock whose name I can't remember.
Brysis.
That sounds right. Yeah, she was totally like the behold my dark and majestic glory.
Right. And Will's Dragonborn ex-gladiatorial fighter warrior.
Yeah, who was also Batman. I'm Batman. Also, I'm a dinosaur. Actual line from the campaign.
Yep. Well, he multiclassed into Ranger to get stealth.
Yeah.
And he was actually the sneakiest person in the party. He was like the second sneakiest person in the party behind No, he was actually
versus Drow Ranger Priest.
Actually, yeah, he was actually as sneaky as she was.
Yeah.
Chris's original character, he switched character. He originally played a thief. He eventually switched to the Drow Ranger cleric because
he was having lots of problems with the thief. It wasn't clicking for him.
He liked mechanically some of the things that it did, but he decided. Well, I think part also he just wanted to play a drow with a bow and clerical stuff. I think.
Yeah. I remember him being dissatisfied with the thief. There were things that he liked about it, but there were more things he didn't.
He loved all the ability to reposition stuff that particular thief build had.
Yes, but he was frustrated with the lack of actual striking power.
Well, yeah, and that was partially because he built a half-elf thief, which is not the best racial choice for it, unfortunately.
Although it was pretty awesome, him throwing stuff into the wood chipper that was my barbarian.
Yes.
Tarek was lots of fun. He was kind of a jerk, but he was lots of fun. The ambush that caught us all in the middle of the night. So you end up at the end of the encounter, my character's soaked in blood with his axe and completely unarmored, and everyone's sort of not looking at me.
Yeah.
It's that was a lot of fun. We can tell. How do you mean you can tell? You have an erection. How can you tell? You forgot to put on pants. Oh, yeah. I should go put on pants.
Oh, God. So, before we go...
That was largely just, Tarek and Kalamdil, honestly, that exchange.
Yeah, that was. I remember that correctly. Before we go, I do want to... We've been going for a while. I do want to touch on one email we did get,
yes.
A question sort of thing. It could. I don't know if we can spin this into a full episode, but this is from Joshua Roth, Jacob. It says, "Hey folks, I recently started playing a new campaign, system being Mutants and Masterminds. I'm getting interested in running a game of my own. Since I've enjoyed listening to Star City campaign very much, I was wondering if you could give a few tips on how to run such a campaign. I have some experience at DMing, and I'm very genre savvy when it comes to supers. Thank you for your time."
Here's the problem with me and Mutants and Masterminds. I'm highly specialized. I know how to build and run Dr. Arcane. I don't understand anything else.
Yeah, I think this is less system specific, I think. It's more running a superhero RPG, I think, is what he's more talking about. Honestly, most of what I would say applies to whatever system you're running in for a superhero game. Running a superhero game is very different than running almost any other tabletop RPG.
Yes.
Because the players are... there are games where players are powerful. And there are a lot of them. But short of Amber, you're really not going to find one where players are as powerful as they are in a superhero game for the most part. Like, if you're running a traditional 4-color superhero game,
yeah,
like, you're going to be beat out by, like, maybe players in Amber. And players in Amber probably technically would count as more powerful, probably. Maybe maybe late campaign characters in Exalted, and I guess the World of Darkness characters aren't the same part. They're effectively, I mean, like, the vampires, werewolves, and mages are all basically superheroes.
Yeah, yeah.
Super powered beings. I mean, so if you're playing,
they're gritty, low powered superheroes. Honestly, though,
mages less so. Actually,
yeah,
and werewolves. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but still, you poke them with something silver. I mean, you poke them with your grandmother's friggin' like dining set, and they fall over.
If you can hit them,
huh?
If you can hit them.
Yeah. The few times I played werewolf, I did more of I'll just take it on the chin because I regen it all next turn anyway. What do I care?
Right. But werewolves can be dodgy.
Yes, they absolutely can. I was just like, I'm just going to lever regen through the roof.
Uh-huh.
And then every once in a while, something would show up as silver.
And you go, no!
I am leaving. You guys handle this.
But yeah, I definitely think for a superhero game, so you're going to have to be in the mind that the players have a lot of tools available to them that they're not going to have in almost any other game.
Yeah.
They have a lot of bizarre and very strange ways to solve problems that you will not expect as a game master, even if you're planning for it. In games like a lot of the superhero games, I basically don't allow things like telepathy for players because those just completely can derail and ruin plots that you might become.
Otherwise, everyone's got friggin' Magneto's helmet.
Right, and like there are ways around it, but eventually it becomes silly. So it's like I basically say, guys, try to either I come up with ways to either I forbid it or I just come up with reasons why I don't. Well, the players probably won't want to play telepaths. I thought I did a pretty good job with that with the Star City game in that it's technically allowed to be. There's nothing. I didn't make it verboten in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
I just said, telepathic stuff is not admissible in a court of law in any way, shape, or form, and using it basically is basically turns any evidence gained from that as it's poison fruit. So
Yeah,
and also there's a lot of sort of anti-telepath sentiment because of this huge horrible background event I threw at the game because I'm a jerk.
And I don't think anyone in either of the superhero games we run on stream have had any interest in playing a telepath.
Right.
Because I did the Swiss Army Captain Iron Strange, and you know what? I'm just going to play a straight up brick. I've never done a brick in a superheroes game before. Holy crap, playing a brick in Hero System is fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, combat in Hero System is a lot of fun, especially when you start taking advantage of things like that.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of different things you can do with the super strength is great. It's a lot of fun. It should be.
Yes, it really should. It should be very satisfying, and it feels very satisfying in Hero.
When you want to hit a motherfucker with another motherfucker, I mean... You could do this!
And I did it every session because it's so much fun.
I still think my favorite moment from the game with your troll was when you basically were fighting Anvil. You're like, wait, he's incredibly heavy. I'd break the floor underneath him.
Yeah.
He's gonna fall a long way, isn't he? Yeah, he's out in the sub-basement. He won't be back for the rest of the fight. Okay. I'm like, should have seen that coming.
I'm a little sad I didn't get to throw Anvil into the what was his name, Speed Demon?
Yes.
Yeah. I was a little sad that didn't work out as well as I had hoped. Because that would have been hilarious.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, I remember the moment where we're fighting the Doom Troopers, and it's like, if I grab this guy, can I throw him into someone in my next action?
Yeah.
You can do that in the same action. I can? Oh my god, this is the best game
there's an action there's an action grab and throw. It's an action hero. Your reaction was, but anyways, so my advice is basically keep an open mind about the way players handle problem solving, because they're gonna, even if you're genre savvy, especially if you're genre savvy,
someone's gonna pull something out of their ass that you're gonna be like, holy shit, I didn't think about that.
So basically, my biggest piece of advice is you're going to have to think on your toes.
So I've been banished outside of reality, right? Yes. What if I use my super strength to punch reality?
You are not Superboy Prime, no.
I just imagine the game master there going, roll. Oh my god, I got all sixes. Fine, you're in.
Stupid Superboy Prime punching reality.
That is still one of the best stupid things that's ever happened in comics.
It's one of the best bad things. I will agree with that. It's a terrible thing. It's stupid. It's awful, but it's fucking hilarious. And in the right Supers game, I'd be okay with it. But yeah, that's the other thing. Is like, there's a lot of different ways you can approach running a superhero game. Like there are lots of different sort of if you want to go sort of sort of classic Four School Silver Agey, or if you want to go go full on Iron Age, or if you want to go like Golden Age, that can be really interesting. You can do a lot of really cool stuff there.
Golden Age, there's a lot of stuff in Golden Age that could be really cool.
I mean, hell, if you want to do a Golden Age game, you have the opportunity to go and punch Nazis.
Yeah. And who doesn't love punching Nazis?
Everybody loves punching Nazis. It's the best thing ever.
Nazis are the best things to punch.
But that's the best part is...
once said, Nazis are the best things to play in war games, because if you're winning, yay, you're winning. If you're losing, yay, Nazis are dying.
But that's a great thing. It's like, but in the Golden Age games, like, there's a lot of cool things you can do with that. I mean, the thing is, and like superheroes blend into so many other subgenres too. It's like you can start combining superheroes with fantasy or with science fiction. Like, look, Guardians of the Galaxy, right there.
Yeah, seriously. Hell, look at friggin' the first Star City game. That was a giant mishmash of genres.
Well, yeah, that's because I was going for a Silver Age feel.
Yeah.
Which is a giant mishmash of genres. But yeah, there was like,
you had a wizard hanging out with a power armor trooper, hanging out with a street level Avenger, hanging out with a friggin' Bollywood action star.
And for a long while hanging out with a classic James Bondian super spy.
Yes.
Like, and this is a totally reasonable superhero team.
It was kind of an awesome superhero team, honestly.
Yeah, it works brilliantly, and I loved all those characters like to death. They were great, but and it's not just that. There's there's magical threats. There was aliens were invading, and there was Atlantis. Yeah. There's all this weird shit that's going on, and that's the glory of a good superhero game. And I know there
was a gang war that was being run, where the gang was being run by a demon.
Yeah. Not that I stole that from City of Heroes, but I totally stole that from City of Heroes.
Stole that from City of Heroes.
Those guys were totally not the oh god, I'm blanking on the name.
What the Hellions?
Hellions, yes.
Hellions, yes.
They were the Hellions. They were totally the Hellions.
They were totally the Hellions.
I didn't get around to throwing the skulls in, but I was planning on it at some point. The gang who are basically a death
cult.
Go
kill skulls.
Yes. Go hunt, kill skulls. But yeah, just, be ready for basically weird shit to happen and roll with it. There are a lot of people, I know there are a lot of game masters who don't like running supers because the players are too powerful and you, quote, can't challenge them properly. To which my reaction is, you're not being creative enough.
Yeah.
It's a superhero game. It's a supers universe. You don't have to, there's a reason that Superman's greatest villain is Lex Luthor, a man with no powers.
Well, one of the most effective ways of screwing with Dr. Arcane in that game was a bunch of friggin' 2-bit infernalists that couldn't rub two sticks together to make fire. But they kidnapped his girlfriend and completely fucked with his head, and John Doe did not help with that. Holy shit, did he not help with that?
The best part is she was kidnapped it had nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And that was me intentionally trying to avoid the whole girlfriends and refrigerators thing. Because
right.
That's one of the lame things that happens in comic books. They kidnapped Eris because she's a powerful chaos sorceress. They wanted to basically turn her to their side.
Right. And here's the thing: Eris ended up being vitally important later on in her own things, and Eris is awesome.
She's one of my favorite characters I've come up with. I liked her a lot. She's as I said, she's a skilled, powerful. She's not a super powerful direct combatant. She's a good combatant. She's got some combat stuff, but she's mostly about rituals and being...
She's a giant friggin' Swiss Army knife is what she is.
Yes. She's also a cat burglar. A very good one.
Yes.
Turns out what you can
Which is something we didn't talk about.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't do it as much anymore because she's made enough money off it that she can basically effectively retire. And most of her cat burglary was stuff to basically make things less bad to actually protect Star City. Actually,
yes.
She broke into somewhere to change the positioning of a statue.
Yeah, she fucked with the feng shui to make things better.
And she did it completely illegally.
Yes.
She's a thief. That's how she thinks.
Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
It was a good idea at the time.
It was a really good idea at the time.
But it caused all sorts of confusion. And she may or may not have nicked a minor knick-knack somewhere, but not that anyone noticed. What?
Well, ends and means and whatnot, you know.
No, it's more that she's a thief. She kind of has to. It's sort of in her idiom.
Right. It's a compulsion.
But yeah, like basically keep an open mind and realize that you don't challenging the players isn't necessarily about attacking like their raw power and how their raw abilities. So, superhero challenges are often more about the character's psychologies.
Yes.
And that's the biggest thing I would make sure is that with the game, make sure the players all have a good sense of what their character's personality is and what their background is before you start playing, and make sure they let you know about this stuff because you and they need to know this stuff before you start playing so that you can actually have an appropriate genre feeling. They don't have to know all the details, but they have to have enough there to give you like hooks to like hook the campaign onto.
Right. I
think that's the most important thing.
Young wards are great at this. Totally not why Grog has a young ward. Not at all.
But I hope that's helpful. If you got like further details you want, just hit us up an email again. We'll be more than happy to talk more about this stuff.
Yeah, well, totally happy to chat about that shit.
Yeah, but that's going to do it for this week because we've run long. Not that we ever run long.
A lot lately, honestly, which is good.
We never run long. It's a rarity for us. Oh God, we're terrible about this sort of thing, aren't we? Thank you so much for listening to everybody. We save time at the end of each episode to answer viewer questions if we have them. We had one this week. See, we did it. We answered the question.
We totally did it. We honestly, truly did it.
And if you want to ask us questions, feel free to email us. Our email address is surlygrognards@yahoo.com. SURLYGROGNARDS@yahoo.com. Or you can hit us up on the forums, which you can find at mechagm.forumer.com. I guess you can also hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @mechagm. Or if you're listening to this on YouTube, youtube.com/mechagm, leave a comment. I keep an eye on those things too. If you got feedback for us, ways we can make the show better, constructive criticism, etc., what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong.
That stuff is awesome. And
we love getting that stuff. We don't get enough of it, honestly. Let us know, all those same places. If you got show topic suggestions, we adore those.
Holy shit, do we love those. We don't get enough of those either.
No, we really don't. Because it means that, we don't have to spend a lot of time.
It makes our lives easier.
It makes our lives easier, but more importantly, it means we're talking about stuff that you guys want to hear about.
Well, it's more important for Peter. It's more important for me because it makes my life easier. I am selfish and lazy today.
Right.
Today.
Today, yeah. Just today, Eric. Right. Absolutely. Other than that, I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week. We record every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern here on hitbox.tv/mecha-gm. That's going to do it, though. So we'll see you guys next week. And until we see you next, guys, be happy, be safe, keep on gaming, and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye, humans.